The Space God Memoirs. Season 2, Episode 15. My vision was ablaze with light. Moments ago, we had been on the edge of defeat. Zirathra stood face to face with her opponent, a feminine form clad in red and purple battle armor of an elastic make, who fought with claws of concentrated flame, her searing magenta eyes aglow. Z held her own, but barely. Her breath labored, her movement slowed. I was strapped to a pillar, trapped by some weird Vare device, utterly incapable of assisting. Then the light had come, casting the great domed chamber in brilliance. The flash of light began to fade. Up above, through the shattered ceiling, there was movement. 3 octagonal craft descended rapidly from the hole that led up to the surface, stopping silently as they reached the spot just above us, next to where the enemy's flower-shaped vessel still hovered. The Nayar. Zirathra must have been able to contact them. And they had shown up at the very last second, just as we were about to get our asses kicked. A platoon of Silver Lion Nentael coasted from the ships, lowered by jets on their backs. These were the new models, the fresh ones, like I'd seen on the Amatherium. Then a blurred form of orange and yellow shot straight downward, and landed silently upon the floor, just a few yards from me. It uncoiled itself, springing to its feet. He stood about a head taller than me, a lean and lanky lizard whose scaled flesh was mostly a playful orange, blended in with yellow patches around his face, neck, chest, and palms. His face wasn't so much like one of the big raptors, like the Chavrils or Hulzars back home, but reminded me more of some little lizard, something I'd have found crawling on a rock with a silly-looking face and a floppy crest. He surveyed the room with his forced green eyes, his mouth curled upward. Awakened Nayar, rank 2, identity, Jabir Vijal Andatruvius. Weird name, but apparently one of our guys. Jabir tossed me and Z an oversized grin and flicked his tongue at the enemy mockingly. "Begone from this place, foul Vare!" he shouted, his voice confident and melodic. He looked straight at the fiery lady leader. "Even under that mask I recognize you, Manali. It shall be a pleasure to battle you once more, though know that it will end in my most glorious victory." Manali. That's the same name Yako Miras had mentioned below. The Phizar remaining in the room all approached the newcomer, but before they could react, he whipped his tail on a wide arc, knocking 2 of them down to the ground in one blow. The one known as Manali turned from Zirathra to Jabir, her radiant magenta eyes assessing the new threat. Zirathra took the opportunity to lunge forward and swing her blade, hoping to catch Manali off guard. But the fiery one rapidly twisted, deflecting Z's attack with her claws. The fresh Nentael did their part, the silver, cat-faced constructs engaging their red-clad counterparts. Again, the battle resumed, the air filled with the sounds of blasting, clashing, and fighting. I kinda wished I could be more help, but I was stuck to the room's central pillar, a strong but viscous band of material holding me in place. Which was probably for the best. I was dead tired. My atra levels depleted, my previous battle wounds throbbing with pain. So I cheered from the sidelines as the rest of the room's occupants fought for their lives. Jabir twisted and flipped about the battlefield, cartwheeling and rolling across the floor as he kicked and punched and whipped his lively tail about. At times he became an orange and yellow blur, far faster than me, and even quicker than Zirathra at her peak. A speed lizard that zipped from foe to foe, chuckling to himself as he knocked them on their asses. The flamboyant reptilian had something in his left claw, a tiny metal ball. He He gently touched a finger to it, and there was a loud, grinding noise. In the blink of an eye, the ball expanded and changed shape. A 4-foot-long weapon grew out from it, a 2-bladed sword with a serrated edge and dual handles in the middle. Wow, that was definitely an upgrade for my striker. Jabir turned to Manali and jumped up into the air. As he came down, he swung his weird blade in a wide arc, aiming for her middle. She spun to meet him, raising her claws in defense as the lizard man came down upon her. The two exchanged a series of rapid strikes, both of their weapons meeting and clashing, never striking flesh. The melee ended when Jabir's tail flicked down and grabbed Manali's leg. She lost her balance and fell onto her back. As he brought his double blade to strike at her prone form, the Veer rolled sideways, out of his reach. She floated to her feet and stepped back further, noticing that Zirathra was approaching from her other flank, weapon ready. The fire girl observed the battlefield with her vibrant eyes. Seeing that her forces were already failing, several warriors collapsed onto the floor. Two of Jabir's Nentayel had turned towards her, ready to assist Denayer in what was their likely victory. The one called Manali gave me another glance, and our eyes met. I could feel her, a presence as fiery as her appearance. "I'll see you soon, initiate," said her thoughts in my mind, strangely soft, familiar even. It was that same feeling I got when I first encountered her ship, during the ambush. A sense of déjà vu, of knowing, though there was no way I knew this chick. Then, as my Nayar allies converged upon her, Manali looked away. A set of wings unfolded from her back, delicate and insect-like, red but covered in intricate patterns of many colors. As Jabir dashed at her, the woman floated quickly upward on her wings, evading his attacks and rising up to the level of the former ceiling. Her ship, that bizarre flying flower, descended to meet her, scooping Manali up in its billowing petals, where she vanished from sight. An instant later, and the ship careened upward. The 3 Nayar Octas blasted at it, but with little success. The flower craft zoomed up and away with a huff of air. Mere seconds later, the remainder of the Phizar had fallen, lying dead or injured upon the floor. Zirathra breathed a sigh of relief and leaned against a nearby wall, looking as tired as I had ever seen her. Jabir turned to me and swung that enormous blade in my direction. I couldn't help flinching, but his strike was dead accurate, cutting cleanly through the substance that held me to the pillar. I fell forward, onto my knees, the remainder of the stuff dissolving into a rainbow-colored liquid on the floor. "Hail and well met, initiate Keph," said the lizard man, reaching down with a taloned hand. I took it, and he hefted me up to my feet with a strong grip. The Emetherium floated high in orbit above Gaxonal 4, its gold and rose-tinted figure a sharp contrast to the dead grayness of the vine-choked moon. Surrounding the cross-shaped star fortress were the shattered remains of the Veer fleet that had chased us here, spreading out in a field of floating debris across space. Dozens of Nayar vessels orbited the station, the figures of tetrahedrons, cubes, octahedrons, and more coasting in formation around it. I sat in the passenger seat of Jabir's Octa, the lizard man piloting us up from the moon's surface. Zirathra was astride the back cot of the craft, her eyes closed, in deep meditation. I figured it was some way for her to recover her energy, as the girl looked full-on exhausted after that fight. I was super tired as well, but Z had done most of the work anyway. "You missed a truly glorious battle in the skies, young Keph," said Jabir in the seat next to me, a grin on his toothy face. "It was a most valiant effort by the Veer, truly. But in the end, we squeezed through a mighty victory, though the Amatherium will not be able to function at that level again without extensive repairs." "Yeah, I think we were pretty busy ourselves," I replied. "Those Morga-munchin' maniacs are damn eager to get me. Don't know the reason, but if it wasn't for all the dying and killing, I'd feel almost proud of myself." "Indeed, young Keph. You truly must have something the Veer value deeply. The one sent to catch you was none other than Manali of the Shifting Visage. 'Tis indeed a surprise to see her emerge from ages in seclusion, just to go after some whelp initiate newly risen from a farm world." She didn't seem like much," I answered, lying. "We sent her running real quick." "Ha! Much bravado in you, young one, chuckled the reptilian. You and Zirathra fought valiantly, it is true, but without my timely assist she would have smited you hardily indeed. Gulgus the Flayer as well is a worthy enough foe. You meant was a worthy foe. One Eye was pretty dead the last time I saw him. Heh, perhaps. Perhaps not. Only time will tell. Not sure what he meant by that one. Jabir fell momentarily silent as the space fortress drew closer, its full hugeness appearing before us as the airborne city that it was. We passed the initial force fields and approached the extensive docking bay. I could sense my mind automatically connecting with that of the Amatherium, this time accompanied by a plethora of data I knew I could access with a thought. You, my friend, certainly have some recovery to do, continued Jabir. But soon we shall delve deeply into your past and see what exactly it is that the Ver crave with such passion. I dipped my feet into the pool of steaming hot water, a surge of heat spreading with a tingle as the mineral concoction met with my skin. Soothing. Calming. I dipped them further in, letting my legs and then my bottom sink down into the churning liquid, which bubbled like it was boiling. Then I laid back and let the relaxation take me. My flesh and my muscles loosening, my nostrils absorbing the fresh herbal scent that drifted from the waters. I gazed upward, seeing the stars of the solar system's far reaches. The yellow gas giant Gaxanol covering a good portion of the sky on my left. Up above, the room was capped in a translucent ceiling, with a view of the surrounding cosmos. My eyes were drawn to the right of Gaxanol, where a flurry of passing comets illuminated the sky. Scrag, even on the best nights from Aruvis, such a view would have been beyond amazing. Here, it was commonplace. I let out a sigh of release as I eased myself further into the pool. I was on one of the Amatherium's relaxation decks. The room was hundreds of yards in circumference, an artificial garden dotted with pools like my own, in diverse colors and featuring diverse temperatures and mineral concoctions. Between them all, miniature groves of palm trees grew, their bases patches of many-colored flowers. Various people lingered here, some lounging in pools of their own, others laying back in chairs or walking the garden trails. I could have described it as a paradise, or maybe a half-simulated paradise. My monadic connection identified at least 75% of the plants as being holograms, and a good portion of the people, too. Yeah, holographic people, like those simulated students in the old temple area. Not long after having returned to the Amatherium, I had been sent here to recover, to heal my wounds and rest my tired body. After getting shot, stabbed, and tossed across the room, I would have expected to at least see a doctor or the Nayar equivalent. But here I was, and it seemed to be doing the trick. The aches and pains were subsiding, the broken skin already repaired. The deeper injuries still hurting a bit, but barely noticeable. Some message from the monad said that it was due to the way the atra interacted with the mineral concoction and enhanced my body's nanites and their repair functions. But whatever. I was in no mind to pay any attention to that. Finally, I had a moment to myself, where I wasn't being tested, chased, or shot at. At last, there was an opportunity to think, to get a bearing on my crazy life. A variety of things could have crowded my mind. I could have been thinking about that upcoming delve into my past life memories that Jabir had mentioned, and all the implications of having something so sensitive in my subconscious that the Ver were willing to throw their best agents at me. Instead, I might have been obsessing over my Nayar training, the virtue lessons, the monad, the atra, and the fact that I could basically do magic now. But no. Instead, I was thinking about her, Zirathra. That stupid, scragging kiss. I hadn't seen or communicated with her since we arrived here. Was she ignoring me? I wondered if I'd done something wrong. Had I pushed past her boundaries, gone against some Nayar taboo? Or did she just find me an annoying yug not worthy of her attention? some farm world savage leagues below her. Those were the kinds of insecure thoughts running through my mind just then as I sat back in the pool. As most of you can probably already discern, I had always been attracted to Zirathra. Now, I hadn't always liked her, but I found that for me at least, those two things don't always coincide. She may have been weird, aloof, and obtuse. Not the kind of person I just hang out with, but I was drawn to something in her. Not just her looks, though those were quite stellar. And that kiss had been more than that. It had been magical, cosmic. I yearned to do it again, to once more feel the softness of her lips, to have our energies merging as our bodies touched. At the same time, there was a sad little part of me who saw Zirathra as unapproachable, who still viewed her as some lofty goddess, and myself as an unworthy dirtbag. "Stop it, Keph," commanded a voice from within. I felt a stirring in my psyche, a presence coming to the surface. Rayleigh? Burge? No, it was Bakibra. I blinked and there she was, opposite me in the pool, as if in the flesh, her tousled black hair wet with condensation, her muscular brown shoulders rising up from the blue waters, a stern and yet not uncompassionate expression on her noble face. For once she was without her armor, and looked the better for it. "You did not come all this way to waste yourself pining over a lover," she continued. "I have seen you conquer the worst of odds, overcome nigh impossible trials, and defeat powerful opponents. Do not let this be what brings you low." I sighed, feeling the bubbling waters churning around me. I didn't know what to say, so I let her go on. "I know well what it is like to suffer under an impossible love. For much of my life I was in the grip of Prince Ophiro, adoring his mystery, his power, the untouchable promise of a love that could not be. That infatuation grew in me when I was yet a child, and festered until I was unable to let it go, even in death. That is, until you came along, and showed me how that villain was unworthy of my love. Please, Keph, do not follow the same course. Zirathra may be quite delightful, and you may indeed have a powerful connection to her, but do not let this rot in you." "Yeah, I got it," I answered back, mentally, though in truth I did not quite get it. "But as you can tell from living in my head," I continued, "I kinda suck at this relationship stuff. Speak to her. Be blunt with her. Either you both decide to make a life together, or not. This is a vast universe. There are many people to love. Do not let your feelings molder away and decay into something toxic. Remember this. I am riding in this body along with you, and I will not tolerate your misery and pining." A force issued from Bakibra, resolute, steady, yet taking no dugga crap. In moments she was gone, her form dissolving back into my mind, the pool opposite me empty. But, yeah, Bakibra was likely right. There was no use ruminating on a romance like some bug intoxicated on flower pollen. I had a universe ahead of me, and better things to do. As I sat back in my heated pool and let the minerals do their work, I got up to some people watching, which I had always enjoyed. While more than a few of the folks lounging about the area were just Sims, there were a number of legit Nayar among them. There was such a great variety of folks among the Nayar, in all sizes, shapes, and colors. But the one thing that most of them had in common was that they were beautiful. In pristine physical shape, their features unmarred, flawless, symmetrical, and perfectly polished. There were a few people whose body varieties were so alien to my own that I couldn't tell if they were attractive or not, like Jabir or Savaharthas. But I was sure that they were probably prime specimens of whatever type they were. Suffice to say, the Nayar were a bunch of hotties. Even my own body was so much nicer than I remembered back on Aruvis. The musculature more distinct, the face a bit more evenly spaced. Scrag, I even had a chiseled set of abs and arms to match, which brought up the thought in me that maybe beauty didn't mean a whole lot here. When everyone is dead sexy, does it even matter? Maybe a little. I was definitely enjoying my view from here in more ways than one, but in the long run, I knew that there'd definitely have to be something other than looks to draw me to a potential partner. As for Zirathra, there was definitely something there, some kind of connection. From the first moments I had seen her, I'd felt the pull. But here I was, in a universe where people had readily accessible psychic powers. I wondered if she had been using something on me. Some kind of charm or subtle compulsion. Very possible. It was also possible that Keph was a horny young dude who hadn't had a decent fling in years, thus got quickly sucked into all her mystery and otherworldliness. I lifted my body out of the pool and let the simulated sunlight caress my exposed skin. I had to keep a cool head, not just fall for the first pretty girl I met here. Maybe this wasn't even the time to consider relationships. Stuff like that could wait until we weren't in danger of getting blown up every second. But still, I knew me and Z should talk. Like adults. Or like eternal space gods or whatever we actually were. If not, I'd just bottle it all up inside until I straight up exploded. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Space God Memoirs. Space God is written, performed, and produced by A.M. Arctos. Original musical score by Alpha Colors. Various sound effects created by Industrial Strength Records Incorporated. Please support this podcast by following, rating, and sharing on your favorite social media site. For further info on Space God, its creator, and various other opinions, musings, and thoughts, go to www.spacegodmemoirs.com or follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. If you enjoyed the Space God Memoirs, please consider supporting us by becoming a patron. Check out the Patreon link in our description to learn more.